Major funding for these programs is made possible by grants from Chase Commercial Term Lending, New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Genova Burns, Terra CRG, Meridian Capital Group, Wyckoff Organization. Additional support is made possible by AKA Hotels Corman Communities, Aerial Property Advisors, AmTrust Title, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Cushman & Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Fisher Brothers, Flushing Bank, Friedman, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hersha Hospitality, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Commerce Bank, Newbanks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Sterling National Bank, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, The Continuum Company, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
I live in Morristown, New Jersey. I live in Connecticut. I live on Park Avenue. Oh, I go to private school. I'm going to go to Brandeis. Now, Brandeis, I'm going to become a mother. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have children. I'm going to be the bookkeeper to my husband's business. Nah, there's something different. I know nothing about politics, but I'm going to get involved with politics. I'm going to become a lobbyist. I'm going to be involved with Governor Carey. I'm going to get involved. And then there's this guy over here who wants vanity plates. I don't know who he is. I know his father's a builder in Brooklyn. But vanity plates? I'm going to become the executive vice president of the Trump Organization? Nah, every major condo, every leading condo in development in the city of New York and Florida and Israel. Who's this woman? It's Louise Sunshine. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So tell me about your grandparents, where they came from. Let's go to the Mintz side first.
So my grandparents, Pauline and Harry Mintz, they originally came here from Russia, and they settled in Morristown, New Jersey, where they had a very humble beginnings. They had a clothing store, Harry Mintz and Company, and they were very, very humble people, very family-oriented.
So this is Grandpa and Grandma. Mm-hmm. So that on that side. Now let's go to the other side, the Pressman side. Also in the clothing business.
Correct. In a different way, because my grandfather was Barney Pressman, and he and his wife, Bertha, created the first Barney's store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street.
And I think there's a story that your grandfather took your grandmother's ring to open up the store?
Yes, that's a true story. And my grandmother was always a jewelry aficionado. So as the store grew, she always had a little section of the men's store devoted to sales of jewelry, especially antique jewelry, because she was a jewelry collector.
So how did as they would say, the merger of the Mintz and the Pressmans, how did they meet? Your father and your mother?
I really don't know the answer to that question, except that my mother was very young, maybe 17, very beautiful. My father was considerably older. I don't really know how they met, but they had a very short romance and got married.
Now, at that time, your father was working with his father in the business in the men's store in Morristown, but they were also in the real estate business, correct?
Correct. They were buying real estate in the town of Morristown and around the square of Morristown, and also very involved in establishing Jewish traditions in Morristown, contributing to the synagogue, and they were founding a Jewish community in the town of Morristown.
We have pictures of the family in Blairstown, which was not too far from Morristown, more of a farming area.
Yes, that was our family farm because we were all avid horseback riders. My father, myself, my uncles, my aunt, we all had our own horses, and we had this sort of family farm, which was a place where everybody came together and celebrated life. It was a very happy place.
So your parents get married. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I had one sister,
Right, the younger sister.
yes, Mary Ann.
Right, and your parents at that time were living on Park Avenue out and also in Connecticut?
Yes, they were living on Park Avenue in the 80s, and we had a home in Westport, Connecticut.
Where'd you go to?
I went to Birchwathen
Birch-
when I lived in the city, and then eventually went to Cushing Academy, which was in Ashburnham, Massachusetts.
And then you spent a lot of time with your father and you in Morristown also during your youth,
Yes.
and sometime in Connecticut. So how did you decide when you graduated high school to go to Brandeis?
I liked what I saw at Brandeis, and I thought it would offer me an opportunity to study and to be close to New York. And I don't think really education was on my mind. What was on my mind was getting married, having children, being a wife, being a mother. It wasn't really being a student.
You got married in 1961. You were like 20 years of age.
Right.
And you married Abe Sunshine, who was an internist at the NYU hospital, at the Tisch Hospital at that time.
A very well-established internist. And I set about, raising a family, which I have 3 remarkable children, twins and a younger son, Paul, and 3 grandchildren now.
I think when we got together, you said your responsibilities as a mother was to do the bookkeeping for Abe for his office. Then when you come back, because he would be working late, making dinner, and then being with the kids.
Yes, I was a very conscientious mother and always there for my children and always there for the schools that they went to, involved in the book fair, the auctions, the board of trustees of Dalton, and involved with my husband in terms of supporting him in whatever way I could.
Right, and I think you were on the board of the auxiliary of NYU Medical Center at that time also.
I was.
What happens one day that you hear the speech of this politician, right? Wasn't there you went to an event?
Well, one day a friend of mine invited me to hear Al Blumenthal speak. That's how my political life began, and I was just totally blown away.
How old were you at this time? Mid-30s?
Oh no, in my 20s, and late 20s, I would say. And I decided to get involved in Al Blumenthal's campaign, having never voted before or never having been involved in politics before, and raise some money for Al Blumenthal. And that catapulted me into Hugh Carey's campaign, where I became finance director for his campaign and worked with an amazing finance committee, people like Stephen Ross from Time Warner, Arthur Krim, Jim Wilmot, just an amazing finance committee, and became really absorbed into politics, got to know Bob Strauss, got involved in the National Democratic Committee, and became just totally absorbed.
You wins the election, and what does he ask you to become?
Well, he asked me to become vice chairman of the Thruway Authority, a member of the Job Development Authority, a member of the New York State Pension Group.
And a registered lobbyist also.
No, the
That's later
registered
on.
lobbyist
Later on,
came
okay.
after I went to work for Donald
Okay.
Trump.
So you're on all of these organizations, and when you were on the Transportation Authority, some young guy who grew up in Queens contacts you because he wants vanity plates?
Well, exactly how it happened is that Donald Trump was one of UCARI's supporters and had contributed to the UCARI campaign, and is somebody I got to know during the election and was somebody I became friendly with, as I was friendly with a lot of the contributors to Governor Carey. And all of his life, or since he was a child, he had always wanted these vanity plates with DJT on them. And he asked me if I could facilitate that. And as it happened, whoever had those plates with DJT on it turned them in. I mean, it was simply a matter of luck. And I was able to obtain those plates for Donald.
So what happens at this time? You're still involved with the Carey administration. You meet this young, brash guy who at that time really, I think one of the first things he tried to do was try to build a convention center. He had, he had an option or a slight option on a convention center. How did he come out and ask you to work with him?
Well, after I had obtained the plates for Donald, I became even more important in his eyes, and I became somebody who could accomplish great things, even though it was just really a matter of fate that I obtained those plates. And Donald was in bankruptcy court in Philadelphia fighting for the rights to develop the Penn Central properties, and he won those rights. And when he did, he asked me to come and work with him. And I decided that would be a really good thing to do. And I resigned my political offices, went to work with Donald
In this two-room office?
on Lexington Avenue in the Penn Central offices. And part of the challenge then was to convert the Commodore into the Grand Hyatt Hotel, move the convention center from the river to the 34th Street site, and develop the West Side Yards. So those were all enormous tasks, and we set about achieving them.
Right. The first one that you did accomplish was the Commodore. You didn't accomplish the convention center.
Yes, we did.
You did finally?
Yes, we got the convention center moved from the Hudson River to the 34th Street site, where it's lived forever after.
And then you got involved with the rail yards.
Yes, and that's the one where it took maybe 15 years after that before Donald was actually able to complete that rezoning.
And then he had the partners from Hong Kong later on.
Right.
The other major deal that took place after that was the creation of the Bonwatella site from Genesco on the Trump Tower. How'd that happen?
A few years later, once we had accomplished everything we needed to accomplish with the Penn Central properties, Donald set about to acquire new development sites, the first one being the Bonwatella site on 56th Street and Fifth Avenue. And how that happened was we would just coast around Manhattan in his limousine looking for sites and identifying possible sites for development. And that was a site that he clearly identified that way and targeted as his first site for development of a mixed-use tower.
And how long did that development take?
From the day of probably looking at it and walking around it, it probably took 3 to 4 years before we actually built what is now Trump Tower on that site.
So you were with Donald from what year to what year?
So I was with Donald from the early 70s to the mid 80s.
To 1986. And then in 1986, Jerry Spire, right? And who else you went into business with you in the condominium?
In 1986, I formed what became the Sunshine Group, and Jerry Spire was my limited partner.
What was the inception of the Sunshine Group from the days that you learned with Donald from the Trump Tower and the other developments, the residential condominium?
No, the purpose of the Sunshine Group was to engage with developers in the pre-development planning and implementation of mixed use and residential development.
What were the first developments that you did over there? Because, I mean, there's a list of numerous during this period of time.
The Sunshine Group was involved in billions of dollars of new development.
Which are the most notable in your own mind?
Time Warner Center, Beacon Court. I think those are the most notable.
Now, in addition to those locally, you also did developments in Florida and other places.
And
right?
California and Europe and all around.
And at this time, when do you meet the late Martin Begun, who I had met many years ago?
Well, Martin Begun, who died just recently. I met Martin in the days that I was involved at NYU. I was married to him for 20 years, and I probably knew him for 30.
Now, during the period of time, and we'll get back to Martin in a second, from 96 until 2005, you were running the Sunshine Group, correct? Until you sold it to NRT?
Yes.
So tell me what happened in 2005.
Well, in 2005, I had the chance to sell the Sunshine Group to a public company, so I took advantage of that opportunity. And I thought that not many women really have an opportunity to build a service business and sell it to a public company. I was very proud of that achievement. And since that time, I've been consulting.
Right, you had a non-compete, but then you were involved with the Alexco company.
Correct. So Alexico was my one exception to the non-compete. So I was able to stay on with Isaac Sembahar and work on his developments.
And then recently, you got heavily involved with what they would call Billionaires Row with Steve Roth, as opposed to Steve Ross. Tell me about what you're doing with that.
Well, I really can't talk about it because I signed a confidentiality agreement.
In general, I mean, this is a very luxury condominium on Central Park over there.
I was involved in advising Vornado on how to build its luxury condominiums, but
you helped them at One Beacon Court also, because that was probably their first luxury condominium.
No, the Park Laurel was.
Park Laurel was a couple years before.
Yes.
Right, and that was on the west side.
Mm-hmm. And it remains. All of the buildings that have been built by Vornado have remained appreciating assets, no matter what the market is. They go up in value.
Going back to the Mintz family, with the heavy involvement with the Jewish community, Martin was very involved with the Jewish community. How did Martin and the real estate business evolve with you?
Right. Well, I always had a home in Roxbury, Connecticut, and it was a very beautiful home. And I think Martin loved the country, and he just took to it. He became president of the board of the New Milford Hospital Foundation. He loved the dogs, just loved the dogs, became enamored with Benji. And we had a very close circle of friends in Connecticut, and he had a whole nother life there.
Tell me a little bit about your 3 children.
My 3 children are Suzanne, Samuel, and Paul. And at one time or another, all 3 of them have touched the real estate business, although they all have other hobbies and interests. Sam is a writer and a photographer. Suzanne is an artist. Paul is living in California. He's an attorney and interested in biotechnology. So they all have other interests, but they've all touched upon the real estate.
What about the names of your grandchildren, which we have
My
pictures?
grandchildren are Ariel, Mark, and Alexa. Alexa is a freshman going to be a sophomore at Washington University. Mark is a student at Fieldston, and Ariel is 6, and she's at Brandeis in San Francisco.
Brandeis in San Francisco as
Right.
opposed to the other Brandeis. How difficult is it from the transition of being, 3 transitions in your life? From a mother, a stay-at-home mother, housewife, to a feminist who's very involved with politics and then business, to being a major entrepreneur running the Sunshine Group and growing it into a major situation, and today still doing consulting.
Well, I get up every day thinking I've never done anything in my life. So that every day is a new day for me, and every day becomes a day which I have a new set of goals that I try to attain. And it's very strange, but I'm not ever resting on my laurels of what I've done yesterday or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I try to learn from what I've done in the past, improve upon it, and keep moving forward.
You've been a advisor to all these major developers who've built these buildings all around the world. Have you ever said to yourself, you want to be that developer?
No, I haven't, because there's a lot of risk involved, and I'm not sure that I'm willing to take that much risk. I'm willing to take some risk. But those developers really take a lot of risk.
Now, but in the same way, your 2 grandfathers being retailers, one of them whose business went out of business, okay, and I don't know what happened to the to the retail business, but that's a risk also. So in the family pedigree, there's risk taken, probably.
No doubt. But I think in many ways I've taken a lot of risk. I formed my own company. It was a very profitable company. I mean, there was definitely risk in that. But I'm not, when it comes to construction, there are so many unknowns, so many things where you are not in control.
So if somebody said to you, what do you want to do now? What do you want to do now? Because a person like you and a person like myself like to be active. So we don't sit back and retire. Even though Martin, changed his career a number of years ago, he continued, as an advisor, with Fran Reeder and with MBS Consulting to do something. What does Louise want to do?
Well, what I want to do now is take what I've learned. I think I'd like to write a book. I think I'd like to have a television program where I am able to advise people on how and when to make a real estate investment, why you should invest in real estate, when is the right time to invest in real estate, what kind of real estate to invest in a down market, in an up market. Do you invest in commercial real estate, residential real estate? What makes a piece of real estate a good investment? How you create value with real estate. I'd like to interview the people who, not just the developers, but the team.
The architect, the contractor.
Exactly.
The whole, because development is not a one-part function. It's
I'd like the
multifaceted.
public to understand, the people who want to invest in real estate, what makes a piece of real estate great, what makes an asset an appreciating asset. Because there's definitely a difference. Because when you invest your money in a piece of real estate, you can invest it wisely. You can feel more secure about investing your money when it's built a certain way.
So for the shy introvert woman who said to me she was an introvert as a youth and is quiet over there, you know, who changed her career from being a mother, always continuing to be a mother, but a business lady, a feminist, and you've had a unique career. I knew one of your partners rather well, and I'll miss him too, the late Martin Begun, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.